Alrighty, guys, we're here with another deck edit for a new set that came out. We're doing these in place of the old set reviews just because I don't think anyone wants to listen to me just prattle on about a set through multiple slides. So, this was a way to bring up new cards that are coming out and show them in context of a deck that I've played and enjoy. In fact, Saekano was a deck that I really enjoyed playing. It deals with my favorite mechanic, which is memory. Shoving stuff in memory is something I've loved since I joined the game, all the way back in Fairy Tale. So, yeah, it's exciting to get a new set for this, as the ban list did hit the deck back in the day. And yeah, before we go into the new cards, let's take a look at the old deck here. As you can tell by the level 0 lineup, I kind of made the edits to the deck for the ban list, and then never really solidified a list after that, unfortunately, which is kind of fine because the new set here will completely blow up this level 0 lineup. As a spoiler, I'm going to keep the door finisher as my ban list choice instead of playing the runner or the JC. Of note, in the new set, you can play a bar finisher, which is very good, and is an option to look into. And then that way you can free up the runner or the JC, whichever one is your preference. Probably the runner, I believe, would be the choice that you would pick if you are indeed going with the new finisher route. And yeah, with that, you also do edit a couple other things. Spoiler, I'm changing the level 1 combo as well. But before we get into the new cards that we're going to look into, I do want to point out that this set is coming to English. The first set is coming out in October. You can actually pre-order the cases for that set at our boy Gilgastorm's store. You can find that link in the description below. But if you are interested in Saekano, or if you like memory shenanigans, or you're just looking for a powerful deck, you're definitely going to want to look at the first set of Saekano. The Drop Search, the Ricky, the Runner, all of those are part of the first set, the early play, and some other tech cards. So we would expect that Bushiroad would be bringing the other two sets over. They haven't stranded a set in a long time after bringing it over, so that's the expectation anyway. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to jump on it if you're interested in this set, or a powerful deck that's not standby base coming out. So yeah, definitely just want to make people aware of that. I'm excited. I'm going to be picking up the pieces in English in anticipation of the other sets coming out. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to pop here into the new cards that got us excited. And the first one here is a yellow card, which doesn't, fix our colors or anything like that. But as I mentioned, there is a JC on the ban list, and this card would kind of slot into that position. So the first effect on this one is you can pay one and put it to graveyard when your other game character is put into the waiting room, and this is in the backstage. Then what happens is you return the character that went to the graveyard back into the slot it was in, rested, and it gains 3k power until the end of your turn. So it's like a 3k cross turn power, essentially, because you're going to be going into your turn. You can rest this and give it 1k power to a character as well. So the door combo is 5500 base. So this will serve as A, to pump 1k to that, so it can match up 7/5s. And then on the crackback, if your combo dies, because it's 55, it's probably going to die, you can pay the cost, return it. Now it's an 85, 95 if you have another door, which can contest these 1/1s, potentially 2/2s if you have other power pump as well. And yeah, that's why I'm considering this card, just kind of to fulfill that JC slot. And yeah, so something I hope does work out in testing once we get there, but may end up getting cut. But I think 2 or 3 slots is where this is probably going to end up in the final deck list. Moving into green, this card is probably the best card that we're going to be putting out there today. This is a pseudo Azusa on death. So when this goes from waiting room to the waiting from the stage, you can discard a card from your hand. If you do, you can look at up to the top 3 cards of your deck, choose a game traded character among them, add it to hand, put the rest to waiting room, and then if there are no green cards in memory, you put this into memory. They have not printed a trait grabbing Azusa in a long time, so I think this is their attempt to see if they can bring that sort of effect back into the card pool by limiting you 1 card off the top and also making it discard. So I think this is very good. It's probably going to be a 4 of in your deck. Just a heads up. And the mill, the discard outlet, the basically free selection off the top, unless you're playing events, which whether we do or do not play the staying up all night event still remains to be seen. And then you also get free memory. Free memory is always good. There are green cards that do go to memory, but you're playing one of them since you're probably not playing the JC in this build at least anyway. So yeah, this card just big banger all the way around. Definitively 4 of, particularly because you're going to want access to it if you do send 1 to memory, so you'll have 3 access after that. But super good, super excited, and can't wait to actually give this a whirl. The next card is also a memory card. It's a Megumi that quote-unquote memory bonds to the level 1 combo. So you can pay 1, send the standing character to memory, choose a level 1 door combo in the waiting room, return to your hand. It also has extra utility, being a clock bomb. So when this becomes reversed in battle, if the battle opponent is level 0 or lower, you basically heal the opponent's top of clock and then put the battle opponent into the clock. There are a lot of on-death effects in this world now. Every Fuka / Azusa is on death pretty much. So this gets rid of that. There's on-death Rickies, all that sort of stuff. So this just clears them, and then they don't get their added bonus. Particularly Hololive has a Aqua that is on death. They get to punch themselves and draw 2 climaxes. They don't get to draw 2 climaxes. That's my life. I just reveal 2 climaxes every time. But this will remove that advantage engine. So that alone makes this worthwhile. The fact that it also bonds for your event and adds free memory. Not free because you're paying a stock, but gives you more memory. That's our game plan. We're trying to compress like a madman. Love it. So definitely including 2 to 3 copies in this one. So definitely a highlight card here. The next one is sort of a tech card, sort of something that I want to see if it will work out to be a worthwhile inclusion. It's a 2500 backup that has, when you use this card's backup, if you have 3 or more game characters in memory, which you should be if you're having your game plan be executed appropriately, you could choose one of your battling characters and it gains the following effect until end of turn. Pay 1 stock. When the battle opponent of this becomes reversed, you may pay the cost. If you do, you send the character to clock. So with the door finisher, you do a lot of ping 1s and 3s, and it's really good damage numbers, but sometimes if you just stick them to 3/6 and they get a crackback, this counter could potentially allow you to get that last point of damage. So that's why I'm considering its use. Whether it actually sticks around in the deck through the final edits, we will see. But with your level assist, with everything else that's going on in the deck, potentially could be a way to close out the game, and that's why I at least want to highlight it and bring it up for consideration as something to potentially see play in you all's deck. So, and the next card is also something like that as well. This is a 2/2 event that simply puts the top 24 cards of your opponent's deck into the waiting room. You're going to be compressing a lot with Saekano through memory compression, through hopefully clean stock, and everything else. Like if you're playing the bar, it's 100% going to be clean stock. But with this, as well, you're hopefully going to be clean. and your opponent's going to need to try to match that compression. And one way to mess that up is to play something like this, where if they've got a really good deck state, you just completely mill it. They then will probably be refreshing, and then you will likely also probably get a second refresh point in this same turn. And that as well could also potentially be what wins you the game with your finisher. Is if you can get the two uncancelable ping one refresh points plus all your ping ones plus the actual attacks, just very good numbers. The problem is it's an event, so you have to be able to get it to your hand. Whether you can do that or not, we will see. Whether you are playing, staying up all night, plus this gets a little hairy, particularly if you're playing the Azusa. So, things you have to consider if you're going to play this. I may try one copy in the deck, drop staying up all night to like two copies, and just see what happens with that. So, it's a consideration card with an interesting effect, and that's why we're mentioning it here for the general populace. So, yeah. After that, we have the level 1 combo that we're going to be swapping the deck into. It gains 500 power for each of your game characters in the back row, sits at 5/5, 6/5 with a door. And when this attacks, if the door is in the climax zone, if you have two or more game characters, you mill the top two cards of your deck and then salvage X or lower, where X is the sum of the milled cards. And then there's an extra line of text. And the extra line of text is what makes this really good, because we've seen these cigarette or tobacco combos or whatever they're being called now a fair amount in recent sets. But the extra line of text here is very interesting. So if you return a character that's level 3 or higher, you can choose one of your opponent's characters and return it to their hand. This is good against standby. Now, the debate is whether returning level 3s to your hand is worthwhile or not. So I think that with the Azusa being able to discard and then grab characters, adding level 3s in those games where you need to bounce the opponent's back row, front row, anywhere to keep your characters alive, to reduce power, all that stuff, I think is going to be worthwhile. And then, you can salvage your early plays, you can salvage combo pieces that, particularly if you're already level 2, you're going to want anyway. So, this is an interesting card that I want to test and see if it's going to be worth the play or not. I think it is, but until we actually get the play set and do all the testing and all that, we'll find out whether the bar is better just because of the clean stock and all your compression there, or whether this, which is on a door, which I love, is the play. So, this will be a lot of fun to test. Particularly into standby matchups. Nijikasaki's huge. Mushoku's huge. All that stuff. We just want to see how this helps handle those. The last card I'm bringing up here is this 1/1 Reverser. Now, I say 1/1 Reverser like it's a simple card. However, this is a very interesting card. So, the first effect is a recollection effect. So if this is in memory and we do not have another copy of this card in memory, at the start of each of your draw steps, you scry one. So in Magic, scrying is usually considered about half of a draw because it gives you information on what you're going to draw next, and you can decide whether that card is important to leave back on top of your deck or to put to the bottom. So if you're trying to dig for climaxes, combo pieces, or specific cards to deal with your matchup, this will help you get there. It's also quote unquote free memory. When it's reversed, if you have 2 or less memory, you can send it to memory. And then when it becomes reversed, if the battle opponent is higher level than your opponent's level, you send that character to memory. Free memory. A effect in memory that helps you further your game plan as you progress through the game, and sending a character to memory are all very good in my evaluation of this card. Typically, red when it reverses something, just reverses it, which allows for Encore. It allows for on-death effects, and it's literally the worst type of reverser you could be playing in this game. Now, stock bombs, clock bombs, those characters can be grabbed back by your opponent through salvage, through searching, through any other way. But this sends things to memory. Opponents cannot get things back from memory. Now, there is free compression and all that to take into account as well. But when you reverse a Rushia and you send a Rushia to memory, that's good. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Getting rid of the Rushia is very good. Sending it to memory, even better. Can't hand Encore, none of that. So, I'm probably going to play 2 copies of this. I'll never send the second copy to memory because you always want that scry. But I think you want to, one, send to memory, one, have access to, and it's going to be really good. I'm actually really excited to see the play patterns with this card, and really look forward to it. There is one other card that you can consider. I believe there's 2 climax swappers you have options for. One goes to memory and allows you to swap for different color climaxes. You can't play that in this deck because we're all red climaxes. So that is a card that cannot be played, unfortunately. But I believe Utaha also got a standard climax swapper. It's probably worth playing as well. I just did not add to this slideshow if it actually exists, because I completely forgot that it was a card for consideration when I was building the slides. But yeah, if that does exist and I did not hallucinate that card, definitely worth playing as well. But yeah, if I did miss anything else, please do leave a comment below, as we do always appreciate other people's opinions, because deck building is a lot of fun and something we like to take a lot of time and effort into doing around here. And yeah, hopefully we'll see everyone in the next video. And until then, have a good day.